Well, let's get into the property service that Investment Buyer Network provides. And before I do that, I'd like to talk about the property selection criteria that we actually look at when selecting quality developments that our clients might be interested in. As we try and basically pre-find the stock that's going to suit most investors. And what we generally find, if an investor isn't emotionally attached in any way to a particular property they're looking at, then fundamentally a lot of this criteria should suit them. So it just gets back to then understanding the first point is what the client's needs are. Okay, if they do have specific needs, or confirming what their borrowing capacity is, confirming what their comfort level is, what they want to invest in, whether it's 400 to 500,000 or 350 to 400,000, confirming their borrowing capacity and understanding what their requirements are. If someone's actually after a particular house in Hawthorn, 3-bedroom house worth $800,000 or $1 million, we can't probably help them with that. So we'll be clear on what we can help clients with. We might be able to refer them to someone else that can. But generally there's a number of pieces of criteria we like to follow. One, we look at suburb potential. Okay, there is infrastructure changes, roads that make suburbs potentially a lot more capital growth potential if there's fundamental changes. I'll give you an example later on of a development I'll show you that clients are about to settle now. They actually bought it 18 months, 2 years ago in Footscray, and leading up to that, about 3 years ago, the Footscray Council decided to spend millions of dollars, which was backed by the Victorian government in certain areas. And we could identify that and actually found a development that's going to benefit from that redevelopment in the area. And our clients have done really well. They paid for 1 bedrooms, as I'll show you later on, a lot less than actually going to be worth when they settling in a few weeks' time. Development size, we like our boutique developments. Boutique once upon a time was probably 30, 40 units in a development. Now it's probably more like 60, 80 units. It's important to get as much land content associated with the units. So therefore we steer clear of probably high-rise developments, probably which is more found right in the centre of CBD areas. Development size is a certain number, generally up to 80 units is a nice size. If we can get smaller than that, that's great. Rental yields is important. Currently you should be getting close to 5% rental yield, maybe 4.7, 4.8%. But over time you do want the rental increase. And I'll get back to this point, but it's one of the most important points, that you do need to get the rental growth from your property, because that's what drives capital prices. The more rent you can get, that asset's going to be worth more in value. Capital growth, that flows on from a lot of these factors we're talking about, that the capital growth will flow if you've made good choices in each of these criterias. Depreciation benefits, really important from a tax point of view, that new stock or recently refurbished stock can actually attract more depreciation benefits. If you bought a $400,000 property that was 20 years old, your depreciation may be only a couple of $1,000s a year as opposed to $9,000 for a new $400,000 property. So from a tax point of view, that's a couple of $1,000 a year saving. Valuations, we want to make sure that the property is valued right and you're paying on the money for it. And floor plans, we spend a lot of time at early stages with developers that will come to us. And I'll speak to Michael or myself and say, what's your thoughts on the floor plans here? Is this going to be suitable for investors? Should we be changing anything? So we can get in early at an early stage and help making sure it's appropriate floor plans, because I'm really particular in making sure there's a good utilisation of the space. There's no point having a big 1-bedroom unit that's got a wasted hallway or wasted space there, because from a rental point of view, you're not going to get it. Tenants aren't going to pay for space that they're not really going to utilise. So that's really important. So all those points are important, but I really like to, when I talk to clients and see the clients and you ask them what are they really looking for in an investment property, hopefully they see it as an investment vehicle and they take the emotion out of it. It's absolutely irrelevant how big the unit is, if it's got this little thing on it or that little thing. You know, at the end of the day, how I look at it is that you should be investing in this vehicle that I call a rental manufacturer, because you should be investing in a property that's going to give you the most rent in 10 years' time. Now, if you're getting a $400 a week rent property, or looking at a $400,000 property, the rent should be $400 a week. In 10 years' time, if that's not $700 a week rent, it's not a good investment. It doesn't matter if you prefer a 3-bedroom house with a bit of land on it, if the rent's going to be $520 a week in 10 years' time, because at a 5% rental yield, that means the property's worth $500,000. Whereas the $700 a week rent, it might be a 1-bedroom unit in Carlton that's now worth $700,000 a year. Because as an investor in 10 years' time, if I'm looking at buying this investment and it's giving me $700 a week, I'm going to pay more for it than something that's going to give me $520 a week. That's how it works. You're buying a rent machine. You know? All the other things are frivolous. And what drives the rents are buying in the areas that's going to attract the tenants that are going to pay for that. So let's get into our service, how we actually help our clients and our alliance partners that refer our clients to us. Pretty much there's 3 parts of the process. And I'll run you through an example of a client that I've helped in the past, or helped for the first time, or they've been referred by their accountant to speak to me. I'll have a chat with Fred on the phone, and I'll go through his situation and confirm what his equity is, what his income is, explain what his borrowing capacity is if he doesn't already know, which might be like some people fall off the chair when I say your borrowing capacity is actually $800,000, but they only might go for $400 or $450 at the start. So we talk about the costs of running a property, whether it's $80 a week for them or $100 a week, which is their cash flow analysis. So I'll get them a comfort of how much it's going to cost them, pre-tax and post-tax. Okay, so if Fred's got a borrowing capacity and looking at $450,000, if he hasn't got